Welcome back to Finnegan's Garage. Thank you guys for watching, for subscribing, for liking, more importantly for commenting, because 9 times out of 10 when you guys put a comment on there, it's because I screwed something up and I learned from it. You know, like in the early days of this channel when you taught me how to work a circular saw. Remember that? I tried to replace the wood bed floor on the roadkill ramp truck and I was holding the saw the wrong direction and I couldn't figure out why every time I'd get through the 2x4 and then it would kick back. Told you I don't know anything about wood. Should I cut all the way through? I borrowed that saw and it didn't come with instructions, so yeah. If this was metal, I'd be fine. And so I listened, I did it, and I was like, holy crap, I can cut wood now. It was amazing. I appreciate that. Thank you guys very much. Today we're inside the new shop, which to be honest is more storage than anything. I am surrounded by broken project cars. There's currently a river running through the shop because it rained, and I guess everything leaks here. There's a whole lot of badness happening, and this right here, for me, is the source of most of that badness. Here's everything you should know about Blasphemi. First off, the car began life as an idea. After seeing the movie Two-Lane Blacktop, I realized James Taylor is the coolest dude I'd ever seen on the silver screen. Watching him road trip a Bel Air cross-country street racing was a huge influence on my life, and I knew that is the car for me. I want it to look like that. I want to do those kinds of things. And so I started searching for one, and I looked for the very cheapest one I could find. Turned out to be on Craigslist in Hemi, California. And I bought a body and a title for $2,350 from a real nice gentleman out there. And then Freiberger and I loaded that body onto a trailer, hooked it to the Macho Grande, which was his old Suburban, and we drove all the way to Jim Meyer Racing from California to Oregon, and we plopped that body down onto one of Jim Meyer Racing's gasser chassis, which is a 2x4 rectangular tube chassis with a straight axle front end, ladder bar, and a 9-inch rear end, coilovers in the back, leaf springs in the front. Not period correct, but really close looking chassis for a late 60s style NHRA gas class racer. The thing that made this car interesting to me, and it was 100% Freiberger's idea, was the Hemi. At the time, Freiberger had, 3 or 4 Hemis in his garage, and we horse traded some parts so that I could get a Hemi that was rebuildable that would go into Blasphemi. Now, at the time, we didn't have a name for the car. We just knew putting a Hemi in a Bel Air meant drama and fun and torque and all the things that come with that. And so we spent several episodes of Roadkill assembling the car, and the day the engine roared to life, we drove it from Orange County, California, all the way to Charlotte, North Carolina for Hot Rod Power Tour. And I think that was probably 7 or 8 years ago. And over the years, a car that I just wanted to drive on the street and take my kids to school in and go cruising in somehow turned into the only car I've consistently went drag racing with. And it's the one I put the most effort in and the most money into. And in the beginning, it ran 1150s and it was on cheater slicks and it wouldn't hook and it wouldn't go straight. And today, it runs mid-8s at about 160 miles an hour and is a blast to drive. And it has been easy. I mean, I've broken the original Hemi 3 times. I'm currently building a completely new one because the last time I broke it, we installed the shifter backwards during Rocky Mountain Race Week 2.0. And first gear was second gear and second gear was first gear. And I kicked a rod out of that thing. Ever since then, I've slowly been collecting the parts to rebuild the Hemi. But the other night I realized I really hadn't put as much time and effort into finding those parts as I could have been, and I didn't know why until I realized I don't like the car anymore. And I'm not saying that because I'm gonna sell the car. I mean that just over the last few years, things have happened to the car, things have been done and modified to the car, to the point now where I just don't like it. And so I had a moment where I was bummed out, and then I went, I'm gonna fix it. I'm gonna fix everything. I'm gonna put the car back the way I want it, the way I want it to look, the way I want it to perform. And then we're gonna go back to Drag Week this year. I'm throwing it out there right here, right now. We are gonna go back to drag week. It's near where I live. I have a week off from work, which is weird and rare, and we're not gonna film a TV show. We'll film videos for YouTube, but we're not filming a TV show about it. And I'm going back. And the car will look different, and it will feel different. So I'm excited about that. I don't want a perfect car. I don't want a perfect paint job. I don't want any of that. But I do want the car to be lighter, because if I make the car light enough, then I can put the interior back in it and go just as fast as I'm going now. And in the end, that's what I want. I want a back seat in this car so people can ride with me. I want a little more comfort when I go down the road. Right now, we have a 5-speed manual G-force gearbox in here. 5th gear is 1-to-1, so when I go down the road, 1-to-1 with a 325 gear and a 29-inch tall tire is 3,000 RPM at about 60 miles an hour. It is unbelievably loud. If you watched the last drag week videos when we won in this car, we had earmuffs on the entire time we were driving it, because this thing is unreal how loud it is. And I know if it's too loud, you're too old. That's not it. If you've never done an endurance drag racing event where you're gonna drive 300 or 400 miles a day with earmuffs on, it sucks a little bit. So I'm taking the 5-speed out, I'm putting a 6-speed back in this thing. I called up G-Force. They make some awesome mods for a Tremec T56 that'll give you the ability to bang gears like I do now, but also click it into overdrive and double overdrive on the highway and go down the highway at 1,500 RPM instead of 3,000. So we're doing that. We're gonna do a bunch of things, and in the end, we're gonna go back to drag week with a car that I'm actually happy about, that looks the way I want it to look, that performs hopefully the way I want it to perform, and maybe is a little more reliable. I don't know. It should be. You know, the last blow up was entirely our fault. I want the front axle wider. I don't want the wheels sucked in anymore. We need to pull this quarter panel out because this wheel sticks out an inch more than the other one, and we made sure the quick performance rear end is centered in there. The problem is the quarter panel. I like the car to suck just a little less, for me personally. The car is now so busy between the Finnegan's garage and the A-Gas and the 2019. It's so busy now that I kind of just want my flat black car with a gold roof and the Blasphemi, and I don't really want anything else on the side of it. So when you say, what do you think about putting trim back on it, I've given no thought to it.
Yeah, I'm just curious. I'm looking at it going, what would it look like? I don't even know. This may be cut too high. Like,
might be.
I don't like it when they come down and they go, and they stop, and they continue it. That looks goofy.
The back of this car used to be lower too, and then we had to raise it up because the tires were hitting the fenders.
I think we're past the point of putting trim back on it, but I just love the trim.
Yeah, because the trim would have come down to here, and
yeah, like I said, I think this is probably too high now.
It might be. You're also adding weight back to the car.
I was thinking plastic. Airbrush it on?
Airbrush the trim on. Have you ever seen that done though, where you were really like, yeah, that looks real?
Yes, on C10 trucks when they do the molding down the side and where it's two tones, two different colors.
I always feel like I can tell.
Dude, if you walk up to it, you can tell, but like from a distance, it looks real.
Mm-hmm.
I like where this is going though.
I miss driving the car. I just don't want to look at it right now. You know, but at least we have a plan. I've already ordered the transmission. We're gonna have double overdrive for drag week this year. All morning long, you know, we didn't film it, but we've been measuring the leaf springs, measuring the axle, because this is not the original axle to the car. I changed it to lower the nose of the car because it just sat really high. And it had way too much leaf spring. It was really stiff. The car didn't work at the drag strip. So a couple of years ago, me and a buddy of mine lowered the front of the car with an axle, took out most of the leaf springs, and the car works. Like, it hooks and goes. But we didn't realize when we were doing it that the new axle was way narrower than the old one by like 4 inches. So now my front wheels are all sucked in and it looks goofy. So we've been talking about, you know, putting another axle under it because I don't really want to run wheel adapters. Yeah, this is an ET drag.
This is 11.5 non-W right here.
Oh, so they're both, okay, all right, so I did grab two. Oh yeah, so this is an 11.5 W, no, this is a 10.5 W, this is an 11.5 non-W. So look at that, right? Let me line up the edge of the tread here. They're basically the same. They're within, I'd say, 1/4 of an inch, right? And both are legal for drag week. Drag week, the rule is car on the ground, tire having air in it, it can only be 11.5 inches from edge to edge of the tread surface. And so this here is a 29.5, 10.5 wide, but W, which means it's extra wide. This is a 29.5, 11.5 inches wide, non-W. This one is wider than that one, which is crazy.
Explain to me why there's two options. Why have two different? Why add the W?
I don't have a clue, but there's racing classes you can't run W's in because W's are wider. Why do they make a W and a non-W? You know, because they make a 10.5 W and 10.5 non-W. Well, I have no clue. I just know that's legal at Drag Week. It's the widest one that's legal, so that's what I was running. But we could go narrower. The car will still hook. It'll be fine. But we could go to a narrower tire to clear. Whoops, we're gonna paint that. Don't worry. We could go to a narrower tire. You know, I think we still need to put some back spacing on the wheel to move it inboard, but maybe only go an inch on the back spacing to bring the wheel in, and then just go to a non-W tire to move the tread in, and we're probably okay.
So I think we have enough wheels between the two of us. Order the tires, then we'll just
Test fit them.
Yeah, test them until we get the right combination.
Yeah. I mean, we're not doing this again, so just, you know, I'd like to keep these wheels on the car because they're really light. So we could go get a non-W tire and put it on this wheel, but the back spacing is probably still not right.
We'll throw something else at you. On the street, we could keep the cool, like those and everything. But at the track, we could always change it up and put a really light wheel on it, like a totally different style, like put a racing wheel on it.
You can't do that at Drag Week.
Really?
The gasser class is the only class that is appearance-based.
Okay, there you go.
It has to have no billet. It can't look like a modern billet wheel. It has to look like a period correct wheel.
Okay.
So you're limited on that, you know. And it's subjective. If you have any questions of all of whether or not your gasser looks like a gasser that fits in at Drag Week, in the rules it actually suggests you send pictures ahead of time before you register. So
There you go.
yeah, we got to be careful. No double bead locks, none of the crazy stuff. If it's not these wheels, I'd put some daisies on it, but the daisies would be heavier.
You're gonna keep talking about it. I'm gonna find some.
You got to find a 15 by 12 with 5 inches of back spacing. That's not easy in an old Daisy. All right, so we know what we need in terms of a wheel. 15 by 12, 5 inches of back spacing ought to get it done. And then we do a non-W tire, and then we pull this quarter panel out somehow so that it's not, if you look at it, it's doing this. And if you come to this side of the car, even this one is, oh man, even this one is flat right here. Even that one caves in a little bit. That part needs to be pulled out.
So let's bolt the tire back on it and show the people what we're talking about as far as how far the tire can go.
Okay. Well, here's the visual. And I haven't measured this yet. I'm just assuming this is going to work. So that is from the inner fender lip to this rolled edge. And that is 13 5/8. Come to this side. Can't see anything, it's dark. And it's nearly 14 inches. So yeah, this side is sticking out over 1/4 of an inch. Well, about 1/4 of an inch compared to that side. It's like that whole side, and it might have been when Cotton welded the rod in here that it sucked in. I don't know. It is what it is. It's not the end of the world. But when you're trying to make the fitment right, you don't want to order wheels with 2 different back spacings so that they look right in comparison to the sheet metal. You want to fix the sheet metal so you can order 2 of the same wheels and everything's good. Because when Nuber and I put this rear end in the chassis, we centered it in the chassis, left to right in the frame rails. So it's the sheet metal that's just different, you know?
All right, this is the last time you will see this car like this. I'm officially dropping it off with Chaston and his dad. They are going to repaint it flat black, redo the gold roof. I brought another deck lid for it off of one of my cars. We're going to make it hinge and put a stock deck lid back on it. And they're going to fix this quarter panel because it looks like the rear end's off center, but it's not. This quarter panel's in like 3/4 of an inch too far. So there it is. Last time we'll see it like that.
by the break of night, the pink skies waving goodbye.